When we first took Johnny to residential care, we were in survival mode. Those early parent meetings felt like drinking from a fire hose. There was so much information about adoption trauma to process, it was overwhelming. Our focus had to be on getting Johnny the help he needed, which meant letting some things slide. We just didn't have the mental space for it all at once. One principle I've shared on this podcast that's helped me understand Scripture is sitting with the text and letting it really sink in. I want to apply that same principle to some of the more information-packed episodes and break them down into shorter, focused segments. Each one will highlight a single concept with ideas to reflect on and apply on your parenting journey. I'll let you know which episode it came from so you can listen to it in its context. My hope is to make all the wisdom in this content easier to take in and use. Anchors of hope and healing are on the way. Adopted children often face a unique set of challenges as they grow and develop. And one of the most significant but overlooked issues is unresolved grief. In today's segment, Manifestations of Unresolved Grief in Adopted Children, taken from episode 183, Jane Baker shares how grief doesn't always show up in obvious ways, especially in the early years. Instead, it can be masked by what looks like normal childhood behavior or dismissed as just a phase. I want to encourage you to grab a pen and paper and listen for the ideas that speak to you.
It's okay to interrupt me because you know me, I'll get to rolling. So.
Well, no. You have said a lot, and it's been a lot of good information. It's information, looking back, I wish we had, because using Johnny, because he's given me permission to talk about him. He was hit by a car before he was born.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that's tricky, we saw some indications, using your car analogy, we saw some indications he had been injured, but we didn't know what that was.
Right.
But then when we got to 11 and 12 and we had him evaluated with an IEP, the counselor there says, we are at DEFCON 4.
Yeah.
He says, he loves you, but we are at DEFCON 4 and there's going to be an eruption. Mm-hmm. And then at 17, that's when the eruption took place. And that's when you came into the picture to help him. So looking back now and understanding what was going on, we go, oh, we would have done some things differently. We would have had conversations like you've suggested here, leaving the door open, because we didn't know we had to be okay. We didn't know how to be okay. Mm-hmm. And we thought we were being rejected.
Right.
And that's hard stuff. And so that's why having people like you on the show to explain to adoptive parents, this is what's going on. These are the things you can do to help navigate these challenging years as your child has started to, as you said, when they're starting to hit puberty and those teenage years, that's when this stuff starts to come to the surface. And you might not have seen any indicators prior to that. We saw some, and looking back, that's what was going on. Yeah. But we didn't know it until it really got bad.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, sometimes trying to ferret out or sort out what is normal kid behavior, just what's normal level of opposition versus is this something else, that can be a really pretty challenging and to do. And we want to have a tendency to go, well, it's just a phase, well, they'll grow out of it, or well, you know, it's because typically not every day is horrible.
No.
If every day was horrible, you'd recognize it pretty quickly. And I think it's always, and I recommend, I still do a lot of home studies for people who are wanting to adopt. And in that process, I talk a lot about these things with them. And, you know, they're all about, I just want to adopt. I just want a baby and everything's going to be fine. It might not be. We hope it is, but it might not be.
We hope, yes.
Just bear with me. And so I talk a lot about, you know, identifying needs, long-term, and how to, and what are the resources that you need. Hope you don't have to use them. But I think because of almost 30 years now of doing therapy with these children and working in adoption and all of that, I've seen so much of the pattern where it comes back to unresolved grief. So here's the traffic accident at street level. Well, if you're at street level and there's an ice cream shop close by, You can distract yourself by going to get ice cream, right? But as you develop, and now you're 12, 13, 14, and you've sort of had this feeling all along something's not quite right about you. And even without any other diagnostic criteria, we just move all that off, anything neurological, anything biochemical, we just move all that off the table. It's just straight up adoption. At this point, you really can start thinking about the people that you lost and that you don't know anything about. And that idea, because under the age of 8, if anything traumatic or anything horrible happens or difficult, whether that's parents getting a divorce or that's physical, emotional, sexual abuse, any of that, children have an idea that it's because of them. And so now you're 12, 13, and you're thinking about that differently. You can see this whole picture differently than you could at street level where there's an ice cream shop next door. And you're trying to put all these pieces together. And so you've got unresolved grief. You don't know how to think about it yourself. So it can look like depression. It can look like well, I say look like, okay, it is. Depression, anxiety, self-harm, isolation. I'm just, gonna avoid everybody, everything, and all the way up to, really acting out, where you guys have to call the police, you know,
Right.
which we always hope doesn't have to happen, but you and I both know that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever amount of pain that child is in is showing up in their behaviors.
By recognizing the signs and patterns of unresolved grief, adoptive parents can provide support that is both compassionate and effective, helping their children heal and thrive. Here are a few takeaways and questions to reflect on so that you can identify these challenging behaviors in your children. Number 1, early signs of trauma or injury can be missed or misinterpreted. Parents often wonder if challenging behaviors are just a phase. Ask yourself, are there behaviors or moments with your child that you see differently now? What might you have missed or misunderstood at the time? Number 2, unresolved grief is common in adoption and may surface in the teen years. Unresolved grief around adoption often surfaces, manifesting in different ways like depression, anxiety, or acting out. Ask yourself, have you noticed any of these signs? Depression, anxiety, self-harm, isolation, or acting out in your child? Number 3, pain in adopted children often shows up as challenging behaviors. Severe or repeated acting out can signal deep emotional pain, even resulting in the need for outside intervention. These behaviors are not just bad behavior, but cries for help. Ask yourself, how might your understanding change if you saw the behavior of your adopted child as a sign of pain? And finally, number 4, navigating parental emotions, coping with perceived rejection. Parents often feel rejected or hurt during times when their adopted child is struggling, especially if the child pulls away. But these behaviors are often not truly about the parent. Ask yourself, when you feel rejected by your child, how do you typically react? What might help you separate your own feelings from the underlying needs or pain your child might be experiencing? I would encourage you to sit with this episode. Make your own notes and think about ways you can be more in tune with the needs of your adopted children. It's my hope that with these shorter segments, you will be able to process and apply the principles that will help you navigate your parenting journey. That's all for this episode. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now. I hope today's episode encouraged you to face the storms in your parenting journey with courage and confidence. If so, would you please share this episode with another adoptive parent? It would also bless me and the mission of this podcast if you would take a couple of minutes and leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.